Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Kevin Holland and Alex Oliveira. Before we jump into that, if you enjoy the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so we've got a fight coming up here. Main card, UFC 272, Kevin Holland versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Now to me, he's always going to be the other cowboy. There's no way that I can really give anybody else the name Cowboy other than Donald Cerrone. Man, I don't care if I live to be 100. I don't care if there's 1,000 other fighters who end up taking the name Cowboy. They're all going to be playing catch-up ball to Donald Cerrone when it comes to that nickname. He is the Cowboy. All right, that being said, Kevin Holland versus Alex Oliveira. Now, I've been a fan of this sport for an incredibly long time. All the way back since day one, I was watching Royce Gracie on a VHS tape win the very first UFC. Now, I've pretty much stayed consistent throughout as far as following the sport and being a fan. And because of that, there's very few fighters out there whose names can come up that something doesn't immediately pop into my mind. Like either it's a signature fight, it's something about the way in which they fight, maybe it's an interview clip and something they said. Something always pops up with somebody. And I say that because when Alex Oliveira's name came up, I got ready to handicap the fight. So I bring up his profile, I take a look. I was surprised. The man was only 34 years old. Only 34 years old. I thought for sure he was like 37, 38, maybe even 39. Then I take a look at his record and I see why. This is going to be his 22nd fight in the UFC. That is a busy man. Now you may think on the one hand that's a really good thing because a busy fighter is a good fighter. Keeps you fresh, keeps you sharp, gives you a lot of experience. Typically you're going to see a lot of different styles. You're going to stay current and relevant. And those are all very true things. But when you're only 34 years old and you start reaching your 22nd fight in the UFC, you gotta start to take a thing. You gotta start to look at the other side of that coin. The great boxing trainer Teddy Atlas always says, the age of a fighter is not from his birth certificate. The age of a fighter is determined by the amount of wear and tear that he's taken, by the amount of punishment, by the amount of punches. You reach 22 fights, man. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body. A lot of training camps, a lot of sparring. All starts to add up. Now you take a look at Alex Oliveira. We break down his fighting style a little bit. I would say that when things are going his way, when everything is going good for him, he's on the outside and he's striking. He comes from that Muay Thai background. You can see it right away. He's got some decent low kicks. We saw the way he attacked that calf against Randy Brown. He can get those out there. He can get them off nice when he wants to. But I'm not really the biggest fan of his punches. I don't really like the way he delivers them. I think he kind of leans over a little bit. He doesn't deliver his right hand directly from the shoulder, so by it not being straight enough, it's a little bit telegraphed. His opponents are able to see it. Not really the biggest fan of the way in which he gets off his combinations. I think his left hand gets a little bit wide at times. He's explosive, but he doesn't utilize it a lot. Look, to be perfectly honest, I think he's kind of showing the signs of an older fighter. You know, he's kind of getting there. I feel like he's lost that killer instinct a little bit. He's got 6 losses in his last 8 fights. That's not really the Alex Oliveira that we know. And you look at those 2 wins that he's got, Max Griffin, Peter Sabata? Are those world beaters? Are those guys out there that big name fights that we've typically seen him against? Guys that we've typically seen him against in the past? And now think about these last 3 losses that he got. And you think about the way he looked in all of those. He just looks like a man who's lost that killer instinct. He just looks like a man who accepts positions too much. Almost, look, he looks like fighting's a job. That's a good way to describe it. He looks like fighting is his job. He comes out there and he's going to work. He doesn't come out there like he's super hungry, like he believes he has the potential to still be the best in the world, like he really thinks that he's going to go out there and capture that belt at 170 pounds. Do you think when he's being really, truly honest with himself that he thinks he's going to go out there and he's going to beat Masvidal, Colby Covington, the actual champ, Usman, the beast that he is? Tall order, man. Tall order. Now, standing across from him is Kevin Holland. Here is another busy fighter, right? Fought 5 times in 2020, fought 3 times in 2021, coming out, getting his first fight early in 2022. I like him, man. I enjoy watching him fight. I'm not a biggest fan of all the super excessive trash talking during the fight. You know, he gets the name Big Mouth for a reason. He's out there, he's letting it go. But, you know, do you, man. Do your thing. Whatever works, right? That's the way I look at it. But what I like about him is the fact that he's hungry. He's improving. He's, in some ways, incredibly confident, almost to the point of arrogance, but in other ways, he's humble. We saw the way that he was dominated in the wrestling department by Blonde Brunson. Right? Came out there, put it on him. Gave him the old derailing the hype train, all of that kind of stuff afterwards. Dude, he kept it real in what he needed to work on and what he needed to do. He knows that he needed to progress his game and become better at it if he was gonna go out there and reach his goal. Then he comes right back out against Marvin Vettori. Now, he lost that fight too. And we saw that again, grappling is still something that he needs to work on. But you saw a major improvement between Brunson and Vettori. He even mentioned it to DC after the fight about how much you could see the improvement that he was making. You're not going to make that kind of improvement unless you're humble. You're not going to make that kind of improvement unless you're able to be taught, unless you're willing to listen to your coaches. And look at his striking in that fight with Marvin Vettori. Man, it was crisp. It was sharp. Now you talk about him down at 170 pounds. I'm guarantee you his training on the wrestling defense has continued to get better. But now you're going to be dealing with guys who are at 170 instead of 185. It's going to be a lot easier for him to defend those takedowns. There are a lot bigger boys up at 185 pounds than there are down at 170. He's huge for the division. What's he, like 6'3", 81-inch reach or something crazy? He's going to be out there at 170 pounds. I worry about the weight cut, to be perfectly honest with you, but he seems to be confident about it. We see him coming into these interviews. It's not the very first time that he's fought it this way, but he hasn't fought here in like 5 years? I don't believe he's fought at welterweight in the UFC. I believe since coming to the UFC, everything that we've seen him at has been middleweight. Certainly all of his most recent fights for at least the last couple years. So it's going to be a big cut. 15 pounds is a big cut, man. He's a big guy. He doesn't exactly have like the biggest frame. Like he's got, shoulders wide enough that you look like you're going to land a plane on him or something. He's not one of those guys, but man, 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. It's a big guy. So the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the octagon with each other on Saturday night? Look, the easiest way for me to sum it up, without even getting into the technique, is just the mindset of these men. I believe Kevin Holland's a winner. I believe Kevin Holland is still grinding. I believe that he believes that he could be the best in the world at the weight class, that he can go out and compete for the belt, and that he knows what he needs to do if he wants to get there. He's only 29 years old. He's still on the path. Man, he gets it. Whether or not he's going to get there remains to be seen. Whether or not he can go out there and beat the top 5 in the division, that's yet to be determined. But I believe that he believes that he can do it. And that's the mindset that he's going to go into this fight with. Standing across from him, Alex Oliveira. I don't believe he has that mindset. Listen to what Jon Anik said after the first round of his last fight. So in his last fight, he was fighting Nico Price. Goes out there, gets taken down, gets dominated in the first round, basically accepts the position, lays on his back. I didn't hear it was in Portuguese, obviously. I don't even know if the camera was in on it. But after the first round, Jon Anik said, Alex Oliveira's corner let him have it. They said Nico Price's ground game isn't even that good. Why are you accepting that bottom position? Why are you not doing more? Why are you not fighting back and giving more? I'm telling you, man, to me, he seems like a guy who just no longer has that killer instinct. He no longer has that drive. He no longer thinks that he can be the best in the world. I think that right there is enough to give Kevin Holland a fight. That's it, period. That mindset over the course of 3 rounds, 15 minutes, I think Kevin Holland wins. Now I'll take it another step and we'll talk about the actual technical aspect of technique. I think he's better. Look at how crisp and fast his strikes were against Marvin Vettori. Caught him with some nice right hands, knew how to keep him at distance. Separated from the clinch at times and fought well. Really fast kicks. Wide variety of strikes. And he's only getting better. He's only going to put the combinations together better. He's only going to get better at timing his counter strikes and controlling the gap. And he's going to have a huge reach advantage in this fight. I think Kevin Holland walks away with it. I think the line right now is like minus 275. I think there's some value to be had with that one. So let me know what you guys think. Am I underestimating this one? Do you think the weight cut's going to be a bigger deal? Do you think when he cuts down to 170, I mean, I know this is only a 3-round fight and he's won 5 before, but do you think that weight cut down to 170 is going to diminish him, deplete him to the point where we're actually going to see a different fighter? I think Alex Oliveira's got a great one left in him and he's going to bring more to the table, really give Kevin Holland a run for it? Let me know what you guys think.